Hi everyone, this is Ramalinga Prasad Kuppa. Welcome to my channel Pharma World. Today's topic is basic benchtop practices in QC laboratory for the beginners. Let us understand the basic requirements. Test method should be in an imperative mandatory style. Draft the test method or call it an STP, standard test procedure, in such a way that it captures the information of compendial requirements fully in an imperative style with action-oriented sentences. Easier way is to start the sentence with verb. You may refer Hydraulics Volume 4, Part 1, Section 4.4 on how to draft an SOP in an imperative mandatory style. Also, you may refer my earlier video titled Drafting of an SOP for more details. It is also worthy to refer another video, How to Read and Understand the Pharmacopoeia. There should be a clear provision for recording all numerical data as an objective evidence. It is important that there should be a provision along with unit of measure in the recording structure for all numerical references in the test method. All the reagents and standards grade used should be as prescribed. Grades of reagents, say LR grade, AR grade, or HPLC grade, etc., should be used wherever appropriate and as prescribed in compendia. There is a separate section reagents in USP as well as EP. There are specific requirements to comply with. You should understand well all these points. You have to use such graded reagents only for testing. Glass apparatus should be suitable and as recommended. Glass apparatus should be suitable. Sometimes there is a requirement to use low actinic glassware. This is a light protective amber colored glass apparatus. Certain light sensitive tests have to be done in amber colored apparatus. There is a useful guidance in OMCL series. PA, PH, OMCL 15, 16, 3R is the reference for management of glassware. Cleaning of glassware should be validated to ensure proper cleaning of apparatus to avoid contamination. Glassware cleaning is very important. Any traces of contamination could lead to erroneous results leading to OOS investigations. So it is very difficult to negate the possible reason for glassware contamination unless the method of cleaning is validated. Mixture of sulfuric acid and potassium dichromate is a very effective cleaning agent for routine glassware cleaning. Of course, there are many liquid detergents also available. Because of its toxic nature, the chromic acid mixture is not used. But the point is that the cleaning activity should be validated. You may refer USP chapter 1051 for details of glassware cleaning. Cleaning of vials of HPLC and GC are of most importance. The levels of impurities we work are at a very low level of around not more than 0.1%. So it is recommended to use disposable vials for HPLC analysis. This will avoid any impact of improper cleaning of vials. This is not an expensive proposal. It is economical in the long run. We can avoid several OS investigations which can cause failure in chromatographic impurities because of vial contamination. Weights and volumes for tests should be as required. Weights and volume requirement should be exactly as prescribed in compendia. For example, if the pharmacopoeia prescribes prepare the solution which contains 0.1 gram per ml of solute, you can select the convenient glassware like say 1 gram in 10 ml or 10 grams in 100 ml etc. as required. But if the prescription is weigh accurately 0.25 grams of substance in 25 ml solvent, you have to exactly replicate it. That means you should weigh 0.25 grams and dissolve in 25 ml solvent always. Let us understand some basic functioning of certain apparatus. See, this is a pipette. I am sure you would have noticed that after transferring the required volume of the liquid, you find a small droplet at the end of the tip. You should never blow off this drop from the pipette. See the design of a volumetric flask. It is wider at the bottom, whereas it becomes narrower when it goes up. Initially, you take the required quantity of the material inside and fill up to this initially. Add adequate solvent to dissolve by swirling nicely. Then from here up to this, you can add easily. You can fill up to this. So from here onwards, you see the flask is narrower. So you have to add very carefully drop wise in this portion so that it doesn't cross the mark. When once it is filled up to the mark, close the flask and then shake thoroughly so that your mixing is complete. Let us see how a burette reading is taken. There is a solution in burette filled up to 20 ml. If you see from the top, you get an error of 1 ml. This is called a parallax error. You should never do this. Similarly, if you see from the bottom, the reading shows 17 ml. This also is a parallax error. This also you should never do. You have to look straight, and this is the right way. This is the correct view, and there is no parallax error. You have to consider the lower meniscus, the lower touching line of the meniscus if it is a clear liquid, and if it is a dark liquid, you have to consider the top line of the meniscus. This point you have to note. Let us see some of the intricate points while preparing volumetric solutions. I'll try to explain a couple of examples. For example, for preparation of 1 normal sodium hydroxide solution, care should be taken to remove the sodium carbonate layer on the pellets or flakes with a wet filter paper before taking for preparation. This will keep this volumetric solution stable for longer periods. So, if you want to make this 1 normal sodium hydroxide solution, you have to take 1 equivalent weight of sodium hydroxide, which is 40 grams per liter. This can be calculated easily. As the atomic weight of sodium is 23, the atomic weight of oxygen is 16, and the atomic weight of hydrogen is 1. So the total will become 23 plus 16 plus 1, which is 40. Since the sodium hydroxide flakes may have some amount of sodium carbonate layer on the pellets, you are recommended to take 42 grams instead of 40 grams. In some compendia, it is suggested that way. This is to accommodate this particular sodium carbonate contamination. So, if you take the sodium hydroxide pellets or flakes to make the volumetric solution, it is recommended to gently wipe with a wet filter paper to make the pellets free from sodium carbonate layer. This way, the volumetric solutions will be stable and have longer life. Alternative and better way of preparation is to use caustic soda lye. This is the commercial name for the sodium hydroxide solution of approximately 48%. The volumetric solution thus prepared will be clearer and more stable. So the commercial sodium hydroxide solution is a very good thing to give a better volumetric solution, because this caustic soda lye does not have the contamination of sodium carbonate. It is a clear liquid. Also, the sodium hydroxide solution is not a primary standard, and it is standardized by another primary standard, potassium hydrogen phthalate. So calculation for this will be, if the pellets are taken, you need about 40 grams, and if you use caustic soda lye, you may have to use around 83.3 grams of liquid. The formula is like this. So 40 by 48 into 100 would give you 83.3 grams of caustic soda lye for preparation of 1 normal solution of sodium hydroxide. It is important to store the liquid in HDPE bottle and not a glass bottle, because glass bottle can deteriorate the strength of your sodium hydroxide. Let us see another example. Another example is preparation of 0.1 normal iodine solution. Iodine and potassium iodide must be mixed thoroughly with water to make a uniform paste before diluting further. This will avoid leftover iodine crystals in the volumetric solution. So whenever iodine solutions are made, make a smooth paste of iodine with prescribed amount of potassium iodide in a mortar with pestle, and then dissolve in adequate water and make it up to the mark. Store in amber colored bottle. If it is not made as recommended, you can find some undissolved iodine crystals in the volumetric solution. Similarly, for preparation of perchloric acid solution, it is a non-aqueous, it is very important that the glassware is absolutely free from wetness. Otherwise, the perchloric acid solution prepared would be dull with a brown tinge. For many non-aqueous titrations, 0.1 normal perchloric acid solution is used. The glassware used for preparation, including the measuring cylinders, storage containers, should be absolutely dry and free from any moisture. If there is excessive moisture, the perchloric acid solution will deteriorate to dull color very soon. Let us understand some important points to note. Read the statement. Weigh accurately about 1 gram of sample and dissolve in adequate solvent. Weigh accurately about 1.0 gram of sample and dissolve in adequate solvent. Do you consider these two statements same? Really not. If you say 1 gram, the acceptance criteria for the weight taken will be between 0.5 grams and 1.4 grams. Whereas if it is 1.0 gram, the acceptance range would be between 0.95 grams and 1.04 grams. These two acceptance criteria are not the same. Let us see two more statements. Add 10 ml of purified water and add 1.0 ml of 0.1% sodium chloride solution. The other statement is add 10.0 ml of purified water and add 1 ml of 0.1% sodium chloride solution. If you read these two statements, how do you interpret? In the first statement, you can measure 10 ml of purified water using a measuring cylinder, which is less accurate. Add 1.0 ml of 0.1 sodium chloride means you have to use a pipette, which is more accurate, or a burette. In the second statement, you have to add 10 ml using a pipette and can add 1 ml of 0.1% sodium chloride solution using a small measuring cylinder. I hope this information is useful for beginners in QC lab. Try to understand the pharmacopoeia, any other compendia in a proper way to become an expert in QC testing. Try to understand the intricate chemistry involved in that. Thanks for watching. For more videos, please do subscribe, like, and share. Thank you.